Okay, hi people, it's Angela's Cashes with an unexpected but very welcome interview. I'm going to call my guest Brian. Some of you will know him, many of you won't. And for now, it's going to be an audio only because of the level of information that's going to be dropped in this interview. This is somebody I've spent hours and hours speaking to, have seen a lot of evidence provided by, and you know, I believe him. I find this man credible. So having said that, I'm just going to give a little bit of context as well of what's going on the internet at the moment. Sean Atwood has interviewed Ian Puddick, which is due to be premiered, I think, on the 19th. Maybe it's at the 19th. Anyway,
Yes.
Shortly. Brian Harvey's put a video out about it. There's been a whole drama on the internet about John Wedger, Bill Maloney. I've participated in some of that, and none of us enjoy gossip, but there are actual facts to be brought to the surface, which are very important for people in the truth community and people trying to protect children. It's really important that we actually establish paper trails and evidence trails. So this is something Brian is doing and has done, and I'm going to stick my neck on the line at a very vulnerable time and just let Brian tell us what he knows. So Brian, over to you. I'm going to just let you speak, and if there's anything I need to ask you, I'll just stop you, but mostly I'm going to give you the floor, buddy.
Okay, good evening, Angela. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Okay, well, I'm going to start from the top. It's quite a lot of lengthy and quite detailed, but we'll start from the top and we'll run down if that's okay with you.
Yeah, 100%. I'll only stop you if there's something my listeners won't understand. If there's something I need to clarify, I'll stop you, but otherwise you just go for it.
Okay, right, we'll go from 1973 onwards, where there was a man called Sir Peter Hayman.
Yeah.
He was an MP, and this man was done for being a paedophile back in the 1970s.
Yeah.
His second cousin is a man called Ron Puddick. Yep.
Wow.
Ron Puddick's son is called Ian Ronald Puddick.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Which I think is out there on the internet.
Yeah.
This gentleman claims to he does actually have a plumbing company, but he's also, his father was MI5. Sir Peter Hayman obviously was MI6. He's quite out there. All information, no. Mr. Puddick, aka Mr. whoever, runs a little plumbing company and a gin company. But he also has a company that he dissolved called Phonecast Limited, which was a data intelligence gathering information for MI5. So he could find out anything on anybody at any time. And this is 10 years ago. You can look him up, company's house, Phonecast Limited. He dissolved the company. He now has two companies, which is Leak Busters and the gin company, which he professes to say that he sells gin to Buckingham Palace, which is in coercion with the Defence Minister, Michael Portillo, for the last 6 years. Now, why Michael Portillo would want to be involved with a plumber, let's say, because he's just a plumber, apparently. Yeah.
A man with a van.
A man with a van. But why is a plumber who's just only had an affair front page news for so many years?
Yeah.
His wife had an affair on him. Well, yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of gentlemen who have affairs on their wives and are not front page news.
Yeah.
His wife is Leona Puddick, but she goes by the name of Lena Manneman.
Okay.
Now, he says that he got raided by counter-terrorism because he was basically, his wife had an affair with a company called Guy Carpenter. The gentleman that she had an affair with is called Timothy Haynes. He was the CEO of Guy Carpenter's.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you there to catch people up. So people may be familiar with Ian Puddick's story as portrayed going back a few years. He was interviewed on Richie Allen and other shows as this plumber whose wife had an affair, and Ian Puddick apparently contacted the company and said, I'd like my wife moved.
Timothy Haynes. Timothy Haynes, he
yeah,
contacted.
and he
Who was a
I
CEO.
understood the company to be Kroll, but you're going to fill us in on that. Let me just catch my audience up. So this is the story that was put out. Ian Puddick was a plumber, man with a van, whose dad was counter-terrorism.
It was MI5. No, he wasn't counter-terrorism, he was MI5.
Yeah, and his distant relation was convicted paedophile Sir Peter Heyman. But
correct.
Ian Puddick was portrayed as a man with a van, plumber, and he said his wife had an affair at work. He phoned her work and said, can she be moved, please? And then all hell broke loose, and Timothy Haynes apparently mounted this huge campaign, and Ian Puddick became a very renowned victim who got mainstream media coverage, alternative media coverage, and so on and so forth. So there's many layers to this story. There's what Brian's going to tell us here, and there's what Brian Harvey has also filled people in on, and then there's what Sean Atwood is going to present with Ian Puddick on the 19th. So keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
You're more than welcome. Right, now Guy Carpenter was about to be flotation on the stock market. They didn't want the scandal.
Yep.
So their security company is a company called Kroll Security, Kroll Security.
I've heard of them.
Right, but now they also work in conjunction with MI5 and the City of London Police.
Indeed.
Yeah, they're a very deep company, very strong, and not really to be messed with. So Timothy Haynes then contacted Kroll Security and really put it on Ian Puddick to go away. He then came out with a story that he got raided by counter-terrorism. They found 2 kilos of cocaine in his house, but it went missing or they didn't pick it up. A very odd situation, but if we're to believe what Mr. Puddick says, this is what he came out with his story. He's had 3 court cases that no one was allowed to go to. Closed
very
house.
Strange. Secret court for a plumber, a man with a van whose wife had an affair, and there were no children at that time. Am I right?
No, he's got a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old child now.
The child was not a feature when the court cases were going on?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
So the only other reason that this could be secret would be
national security.
National security. Okay, keep going.
Right. So we'll move on from Kroll Security making him so-called threats, counter-terrorism, getting involved with a man that his wife just had an affair, who went on 2 skiing holidays. Now, slightly backtrack. This gentleman, Ian Puddick, is a very intelligent man. Had phone cars, plumbing companies. He's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Are you telling me for 9 years, Angela, he didn't know his wife was having an affair and going on holidays? Yeah. Bit strange, because the man has trolled me for 7 months now.
Yeah.
Knows my every move.
Has a data collection company that was...
Absolutely. Has trolled me for 6 months, knows my every move.
Wow.
Okay. Then we'll go on to the next part 2.
Right.
He's involved with a gentleman called Tom Cahill, who lives in Thailand on a place called Phnom Penh.
Before we go on to that, can I just backtrack you on a couple of things?
You can.
Can I ask you about the grievingmothers.org?
Right, okay. There was a guy who was 21, black fella, who got arrested. Now, whether he was a criminal or not, I'm not sure, but he died in police custody.
Okay.
Now, you can check this on the internet. It's called grievingmothers.org.
Okay.
Ian Puddick trolled this lady for 3 years. 3 years. Where she ended up trying to commit suicide. Now, whether the man was a criminal or not, she was innocent. But you can look this up on the internet. It's called grievingmothers.org, and she's put it out there.
You have evidence that Puddick trolled her, do you?
It's on the internet. It's on the internet. You can look this up.
Okay.
You just put Ian Puddick, grievingmothers.org.
And then Lena Mannerman, how do you pronounce it?
Lena Mannerman is Lena Puddick.
Lady from Finland, that's Ian Puddick's wife.
So-called.
Alleged to have had the affair with Timothy Haynes.
With Timothy Haynes, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then there's a son as well.
But for 9 years, he never knew nothing about it, apparently. Yeah. He just found photographs on her phone one day and decided to set up 10 websites. 10, yeah. 43 different YouTube accounts
Wow.
to harass Timothy Haynes and Anya Haynes, which is the man's wife, where the man had to resign.
I've heard it from the other side. There's like the wife is always the last to know. That's a saying. And then there's like hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So if we
Yes, but Anya, 9 years with a man like him, who's very clever. He's tracked me for 6 months. He knew where I was. He's tracked my car. He's sent people after me. He's put my children's name out there. My wife's name's out there. I'm trolled every single day.
I'm sorry about
but that's another issue. But no, that's between me and him.
So go on to Tom Cahill. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Right. So we have some let's just say some people. Tom Cahill. He asked me personally, Mr. Paddock, Tom Cahill was on him and giving him grief, putting up videos, which you can look up Tom Cahill, who lives in Thailand. Yeah. I contacted Tom Cahill and he turned out to be co-intel. So it's a very cloak and dagger world. Then it's Mr. Wedger.
Can I just interject a bit about Tom Cahill?
You may.
I don't mean to distract you, but this is...
No, please.
I'm so familiar with all of this swamp. Tom Cahill, I find quite a likeable lad, and he was very, very...
Quite intelligent.
Very high profile, like 2013, maybe even go back to 2010. Yep. His mum is a social worker. I don't know what his dad does. And then Ian Puddock went...
Ian Puddock gave me his mum and dad's, I'm not going to give the address, obviously, in Gillingham. He gave me, Ian Puddock said, can I go and see his mum and dad, who are in their 70s, to get Tom Cahill to stop harassing him?
I followed Tom in the early days when I first came online, and Ian Puddock actually had gone to their parents' house.
He has, that's correct, he did.
And
these people in their 70s.
Kind of threatened Tom. And I've always had a theory that Ian Puddock had something to do with Tom being suddenly exported to Thailand. He went from making YouTube videos in his mum's dining room, mum and dad's dining room, to suddenly
in Thailand.
Yeah, suddenly he lives in Thailand. Now, there's two different theories I shared recently. Somebody that contacted me on YouTube and said she'd had a little romance, not an affair, but she had a kind of crush on Tom Cahill, and he'd been staying in a hostel that she worked in.
No, he's staying in a place called Phong Krat, just on it's a little island just off Thailand.
Okay, so there's two conflicting stories. So she might be putting out a false narrative, but she was saying
there's a lot of disinformation. There's a lot of disinformation. So, and remember, Angela, you've got to not take nothing as the truth.
And I do believe Tom Cahill is an intelligent man, and he does have
co-intel. He has no visa for the last 5 years. I've checked.
Wow.
You must have a visa every 12 months, renewed.
I suspect
or 90 days. He has no visa, I've checked, for the last 5 years.
So what you're saying is that Ian Puddock contacted you and said, can you deal with Tom Cahill and 3 other people?
He asked me to ask 4 people, I don't want to give all the names, to stay away from him because they were threatening him.
So he wanted to deal with 4 of his, what we would call trolls.
Basically, yeah. But these were phoning his offices, he said to me. Phoning his offices, threatening his staff.
So he asked you to take care of that?
Yes. And a certain, let's just say, semi-celebrity, who's a singer, which I spoke to the gentleman. But
I think we can say his name because he's made a video today and he's very out there and up front.
It's Brian Harvey.
It's Brian Harvey, former lead.
And I believe Brian Harvey.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I do too.
Although over the last 6 months, he's turned his story because he doesn't know which way to believe. You with me?
Yeah.
But then, as I say, we'll go back. I'm going on to the next gentleman, shall we say?
Tom Cahill. So I just want to slow us down a little bit as well.
Yep.
So Ian Puddock contacted you in January and said, there's 4 people giving me grief, including Brian Harvey and Tom Cahill. Yep. Can you deal with them? Tell me why.
Can I ask them to go away?
Yeah, and tell me what you did in response to Ian Puddock's request.
I then went away, done some research, and spoke to all 4 people, which I still speak to now.
Yeah.
And found out it wasn't what he said it was.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously these people don't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian Harvey more so than anybody else.
Okay.
Tom Cahill, I'd say second on the list, but the other two were just fans of Brian Harvey.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were basically, let's just say, how can I put it, calling these offices and making idle threats.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So we had two
Right,
people with a reason to have a grudge, and we had two people that were kind of fans. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll go on to another gentleman, which we'll call Jonathan Wedger. Is his name? He'll go by John Wedger.
I'm going to stop you. Like, forgive me.
Yeah.
I know you well enough that you don't mind. Right.
No.
There's something to do with my work of the past 5 years, which is going to unfold in the coming weeks. But
Yes.
you have evidence that Ricky Dearman was connected to Ian Puddock as far
Ian
back as
Puddock
2004.
has known Ricky Dearman since 2004.
See, that's very
He has known since 2004. Now, if you look at the date I'm about to give you,
right.
2009, you try and find anything about Ian Puddock.
Yeah.
You cannot. And I'm pretty good. I've got researchers and I've had private investigators. You cannot find anything on this man.
So
he's a living ghost.
Yeah.
But he's got these so-called plumbing, gin companies to Buckingham Palace, etc., etc.
Okay.
Now, I don't know whether your viewers know about the evil man Ricky Dearman and the two young children that he had.
They do. They absolutely do. Okay,
but Ricky Dearman, Smith, Lord, Jones, whatever you want it, because he goes by so many different names,
William
has an attachment from 2004 and knows Ian Puddock.
Okay,
Facts.
and we will fill in the gaps on that in the coming weeks with evidence.
Yeah. This is facts.
Yeah, absolute facts.
This
man is not bringing anything forward that he can't back up with paperwork.
Right. I've had two microfacial analysis, body experts, body language experts, psychoanalysis, psychologists look at this Dearman. He's a nasty, evil individual, and I can't. On a scale of 1 to 10, he's 100 evil.
I know. The man's trying to put me in jail, and I'm risking everything because I know the truth.
But he's what I would call third down from the line. If you can a scale 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, he's down the line.
So we've got Ian Puddock. Tell me the three you placed at the top. We've got Ian Puddock.
No, I'd say Portillo.
Michael Portillo. Good. Michael Portillo.
Ian Puddock.
Ricky Dearman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This will make sense as this unfolds. This is only part one, people, but we'll carry on from there. So what about, do you want to go on to Sean Atwood or? Right.
No, I'll go on to Jonathan. What I'll do is I'm going to go on to Jonathan Wedger.
Oh, John Wedger. Okay. All right.
Supposedly.
So for people that don't know, John Wedger is another one with a backstory that's a bit shaky, a bit like Ian Puddock's backstory is a bit shaky. John Wedger's backstory is that he's an ex-detective with Scotland Yard who worked in casinos and then child abuse and then the paedophile.
But he said he was on the vice unit.
Yeah, and then he's
now you can only be on the vice unit.
Yeah, and then I'll just finish telling people and then we'll move on.
Sorry.
He's a whistleblower and now he's a YouTube. He says he's a household name, but anybody can be a household name if you spend thousands and thousands with Facebook and other marketing ploys to promote yourself. And I'm trying to stay away from the John Wedger drama, but it's part of it. John Wedger has a backstory that doesn't add up, just like Ian Puddock has a backstory that doesn't add up. So carry on with John Wedger.
Right, Jonathan Wedger apparently was, all your training is done at Hendon Police Station. He has no affiliation, because I've had someone look into it as being a policeman. I believe he was a policeman, but he didn't do his training at Hendon.
Okay.
But then he says he was on the vice unit. You can only be on the vice unit for 3 years because of the stress involved on the vice unit. Yeah. Like you can only be 3 years on the firearms unit, SO19 it's called, which is the tactical firearms unit. I worked in the West End, but John Wedger apparently said he worked there. I run security there. John Wedger was never on the vice unit. He then came out with a story that he was on the casino, the gambling unit, trying to infiltrate the Turkish mafia.
Okay.
and said he infiltrated. Now, I'm telling you, they would kill him. Yeah, I'm not being dramatic.
Yeah.
These people, he said that he wasn't in the casinos. The casinos was Park Lane, the Grosvenor, yeah, the house unit. He doesn't have no evidence. Now, I've sent you evidence of my conversations with him.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the last conversation, he said, please leave me alone because I'm exposing him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's also on the range list, which is, whether you believe it or not, Jones Crawford. Yeah.
Whoa. Who's on the range list?
Jonathan Wedger.
Really?
Yes, he's on there, and he handles Bill Maloney. Yeah, who's
Okay,
been an informant.
I need to stop you there because I used to follow Dr. Joan Coleman's blog years ago.
Yeah.
I've got
She's
like
done a
a whole
2018. She's done a 2018 range list.
There's two different range lists. One has been updated. Are you telling me John Wedger's name is down as a perpetrator?
No, he's down as MI5 and a handler of Bill Maloney. Bill Maloney.
On the range list?
Yes. Type it up.
Wow. Because he promotes, he tells people to go and look at the range list.
Yeah, he's 2018. Yeah, Joan Coleman range list. Jonathan Wedger as a police handler of Bill Maloney. Yeah, who is Pie and Mash Films. PIE.
Yeah.
Big
Information Exchange.
Right. He had two companies, Pie and Mash Films, Pie and Mash Limited.
Yeah.
They were both owned by Ian Puddock. They're now dissolved.
Wow.
Those companies were owned by Ian Puddock.
Wow, this is such a tangled web.
It's a deep. You're going down the rabbit hole tonight, and fair play to you, Angela, because it's a deep, dark, nasty place. Okay. And you will be targeted. Don't think you won't be targeted.
I have been for 5 years. Don't worry, I have been.
Okay. I'm just letting you know now.
Yeah.
But he's on the range list.
Wow. I'm in shock about that one. You've taken my breath away on that one. All right, so where were we? We've done.
Right, should we go on to part 3? You ready for part 3?
I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything out. You're going to talk about Sean Atwood.
No, you have missed. Sorry, no. Let me backtrack.
Yeah. Okay,
Mr. Wedger. Let's call him Mr. Wedger.
Yes, Jonathan Wedger.
Right, had 7 GoFundMe sites, and he also had the John Wedger Foundation.org.
Yeah.
Which I reported him to the Charities Commission because he had no charities number. They took that number down. Yeah, they took him down because he was trying to beg for money. I call him a beggar. Basically, so the Charities Commission looked into him and he took the John Wedger Foundation.org down.
Okay.
People have sent him.
Oh, because he said he was hacked, but you're saying it was the Charities Commission that took him down.
And when you ask him where you donate the money to, and I've got evidence of this, he gives you his personal bank details.
That's right. Barbara O'Hare's exposed that, and Sharon.
Barbara O'Hare has exposed him. He has no organisation. He's got no charities number.
That's right. Yeah.
So he also has 7 GoFundMe sites and another GoFundMe site for a guy called Pepsi Watson, who's in prison.
Yeah.
Yes. I know the situation. I sent you all the documentation.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the Pepsi scenario, but I know.
Watson, they set him up with a podcast, basically. He come out of prison. They set him up with a podcast, funded him. The guy, basically, I'll put it out there, he was on what they call an IPP sentence. He just come out of prison, which is an indeterminate prison sentence. You're classed as a dangerous person. Okay. He beat up his ex-girlfriend and was recalled. I showed you, put this on John Wedger. Why are you begging for money on this man's behalf? Yeah, when he beat up a girl. And you can see the answers. I've sent them to you.
Wow.
So
I'm going to show those. At the end of this talk, people, I'm going to go and show you some of these text messages and some of this evidence. And for as long as I've known Brian, where we've spoken for hours on the phone and we've exchanged messages,
it's indisputable.
He's always sent me evidence. So I'm happy with that. Wow. So Pepsi beat the crap out of his girlfriend.
And that's why he was recalled, and that's why he's still in prison now.
Wow.
And John Wedger was asking for money for donations for him.
Yeah, I think that's still active, that GoFundMe. So you don't want to touch on the Sean Atwood thing right now.
No, let's go there now. I'm happy to go there now.
All right,
Right,
and
Sean.
I'll just say, just before we go there, that I'm kind of thinking, well, good on you. Sean is exposing a lot of good stuff, and he
No,
seems to have rocketed to
he
stardom.
started off.
All right, go for it.
Right. He started off interviewing criminals. Now,
Yeah,
anyone in the
that's right.
criminal
Yeah,
world,
it was a true
he just
crime
started off
podcast. Yeah.
doing true crime podcast
Mm.
criminals and giving out his story. And he had 3 books. Like one of them was Raising Arizona, which is a ghostwritten book. Now, Sean Atwood says that he was some multi-millionaire stockbroker in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
He then got bored of it and got into the rave scene and selling ecstasy tablets.
Yeah.
And was making £10 million a year.
Yeah.
He also says that he got 9 years and was in max security.
Supermax,
And was
yeah.
Supermax. He was in a place called Maricopa County Jail, low-level county jail. He actually did 5. He got 5 years, not 9. Yeah.
Okay.
And was skinned. His own mother had to bail him out. This man that's supposed to be making millions. Derek and his dad, and Barbara, his mum, had to come and bail him back, give bail money for him.
Okay.
Now he says with his Mr. Bodyguard Wildman that he was involved with Salvatore Gravano, who's a mafioso.
Yeah.
He's got a restaurant, and he's got a daughter called Karen Gravano and Jerry Gravano.
Yeah,
He grassed these people.
Mexican cartel.
No, these are New York mafia. He's Sammy the Dog, but he's called Salvatore. He's called Salvatore Gravano.
Okay.
He was 63 years old, got 19 years. He's out now, and I've spoken to him, and Karen and Jerry. There's a £250,000 hit on Sean because he grassed them up. He was in Maricopa County Jail and was skimmed, but now he's come over here, back to England, and
now,
set
I
up.
just told you one point. If there's a $250,000 contract on Sean Atwood's head by a New York Don, because I have a daughter to a mafioso. My daughter is from the grandfather was Sicilian, the grandmother was from Calabria, and very, very big mafioso family. I'm not going to say names, but I'm familiar with this. If there's a $250,000 contract on Sean Atwood's head.
15 years. This was 15 years ago.
But why is he still alive? Because New York
well, because you're in England. Salvatore Gravano finished a 19-year prison sentence. Karen Gravano, his daughter, done a 10, and so did Jerry Gravano. His name's Gerald, but they call him Jerry Gravano. Okay. They live in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's just come out. He's not been out long. Then obviously he's come here. His mum and dad brought him straight back to it. But you're talking about a man that apparently had millions.
Yeah, so where did all the money go, is what you're saying. He was a stockbroker and an ecstasy dealer. Where did all the millions go?
Exactly. And then he says that he was living next door to Paul McCartney in a gated community. Absolute lies. But then he comes to England. They did a thing on him, which was called Banged Up Abroad. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I used to watch that occasionally, yeah.
He was on there, give a load of crap. He's now got 2 Amazon book companies. One's called Gadfly Media.
Yeah.
Gadfly, and the other's called Gadfly Press Limited.
Yeah.
That 20% of this, if you notice, everyone that goes on his podcast has got a book.
Yeah, he's made like 1.2 or something with the
1.2 million last year. 1.2 million.
Yeah, I was aware of that.
But that's his 2 companies that are attached to Amazon. So everyone who goes on there, he promotes the book. He's got 500,000 subscribers, which I don't believe, but that's what they say.
Yeah. This book thing, the book deal thing is quite. It seems to be a new strategy because loads of survivors are being offered book deals.
Yeah. Well, now he's gone. This is what happened. He's gone out to sexual abuse survivors, Angela, from being criminals. From being criminals, and you want criminals on there. He's gone to sexual abuse survivors. Now, my main thing was the other day there was a young lady called Carly.
Yeah, Callie. Yeah. Well, it was about 2 months ago. I watched those 4 interviews.
Now he's a 53-year-old man.
Right.
Yeah. Single fella.
Yeah.
With his history, and this young girl he interviewed.
She was about 23, wasn't she?
I believe so.
Early 20s.
He took her back to his flat, his apartment in Liverpool.
Yeah.
and she tried to throw herself. Now you're talking about a girl, Angela, that's
Yeah.
autistic, has been serially raped and passed around,
Yeah.
sexually abused,
Yeah.
vulnerable. Why would a man of 53 be taking a young, vulnerable girl back to his apartment, and then
Yeah.
she tries to throw herself over the balcony?
Yeah, the very best interpretation of that, it was really poor judgment on Sean's part. And I'm uncomfortable. I don't mind saying I'm uncomfortable exposing this stuff about Sean because I'm a
Right.
softie and I think he's a good guy. But I
No,
believe
he's not.
you. I
Okay,
believe you.
okay. I've sent you evidence today, Angela.
No, no,
I've sent you
I'm going
evidence
to
today.
show it. I'm going to show it.
Yeah,
And
do
the
show it.
Callie
That
thing was very
Sean Atwood,
uncomfortable.
I was going to expose him about Salvatore Gravano and his
Okay.
lies about the stockbroking and the ecstasy kingpin that he's supposedly supposed to be.
Okay.
For 3 months, and his PA is called Amanda Payne.
Yeah, I think
Now, I've shown you all the evidence.
he's got 2 or 3 PAs now.
He's got a full production team
Yeah,
behind
he's
him.
got a full
I mean,
team
when I say a full production team,
Yeah, I agree.
now, for
Yeah.
2.5 months, I've shown you all the evidence.
Yeah.
I was going to go on his show, but he thought it was for another reason. They found out the day before. I don't know how.
Oh, that you were going to drop intelligence. You were going to drop information, or you were
I
going
was going to expose him. I was going to expose him. I was going to expose him. I was going to expose him. Now, when you go, because a lady called, not see eye to eye, it's called Andrew Guyan, went on the show. Now, she was told, you can't answer these questions or that questions or these questions. You can only answer these
You've
type of
got to stay
questions.
within these parameters,
You got
which is
within a
something
script.
John Wedger does as well. He says you can't name anybody that's not
Well,
dead or
John
convicted.
Wedger, I was supposed to have met twice. He never turned up. Now, when I put it out there, he was living in that Marconi Holiday Park in Wales with Anna Breeze and Bill Maloney and Marie Maloney.
Yeah.
He told me, please leave me alone. But I won't. I'm going to expose him for being a beggar and using abuse victims and begging money off them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sean Atwood was scheduled to interview you, and then he got wind that you were going to expose him, and he backed out.
Day before, he's got two studios, one in Liverpool, one in Guildford in Surrey. I was going to the one in Guildford in Surrey.
Wow.
And the day before, I don't know, well, we listened to,
Yeah.
they found out I was going to expose him, and I was.
Wow.
Yeah, I went with evidence. I had Salvatore ready to go online on it with him.
Goodness.
Yeah. So, and they backed out the day before. What can you say? But on top of that,
the Callie thing made me very
disgusting.
uncomfortable, I have to say. And the other point is, why wasn't it in the newspapers? If a well-known...
You try and find it online or in the newspapers. You cannot find it.
He's put all the videos regarding Callie, including the one where he says Callie tried to commit suicide. And then there were the previous 4 interviews with her. They've all gone to private. He told somebody...
He did the one where he was shook right up afterwards.
Very,
but
very
even so, Angela, why was there no news about it?
Yeah, no, that's very suspicious. I agree.
You've got news about Ian Puddock having an affair.
Exactly. How can Ian Puddock get on all the mainstream media if he's just a man with a van plumber? How can he be on the front page of newspapers and in the Guardian and in this, that, and the other? And it's the same question. How can Sean Atwood, who's the biggest growing, fastest growing internet sensation, if an interviewee has tried to throw herself off his balcony, how can that not hit the news?
Would that not be front page news?
Yeah, at least locally, at the very least.
And I've seen the video the next day how shook up he was.
Yeah.
My God.
Me too.
I sent him an email saying I'm going to expose. But at worst, why is a 53-year-old man taking a 20-year-old rape victim, a child abuse victim, and a vulnerable autistic girl to his house?
Yeah.
Questions have to be asked, Angela.
They do. And then you've got a theory that, I'm just going to say this, you have a theory that Sean, Anna Breeze, John Wedger, Bill Maloney, Sonia Poulton, and Brian Gerrish are all somehow connected.
It's no theory, I've got facts. Right, Anna Breeze, John Wedger, Bill Maloney, and Marie Maloney. She's not his wife, but she's named Marie. We're all living in the Marconi Holiday Park in South Wales. I exposed it, put it out there. They moved. I've got pictures of them living there. Yeah. Anna Breeze, not to be trusted. She's got Anna Breeze Media Limited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, attached to Puddock. Yeah. Bill Maloney, yeah, what? Obviously, no one's seen him for 6 years. Suddenly gone off grid. Yeah. John Wedger does his brew review like once a week. You've seen the evidence I've sent you. He's scared to death of me because I've exposed him
Yeah.
on all these foundation sites and charity sites begging for money.
Well, it's
And that
like a
lady,
cult. Anybody that
Barbara
attacks him, he
O'Hare,
calls a pedo protector or a Satanist.
yeah, yeah,
It's
but
like
he's
a cult.
asking. He's the only whistleblower I've never known that stopped blowing a whistle. I'll tell you names. I've got no problem, Angela.
But do you
He's
know
never
what
named
made
one
me
name.
really sad, right? He's interviewed people like Mike Tarrager, and he
Yep.
might have interviewed Barbara O'Hare, and he called them, he said, oh, I've risked everything for these maggots to puke out their dysfunction and their paranoia. Well, if you're going to call survivors maggots, I don't think you should be anywhere near.
Why is his son driving around in a 19-plate brand new BMW? He's got 2 motorhomes, and yet he's begging people for a phone online to give money to him.
I know. And then somebody said, one of my followers said to me, oh, what does it matter what his son does? And Barbara O'Hare believes the BBC.
That card is in John Wedger's name. He says he has 2 daughters and a son, and then he brought up children on his own. Now you look at do a Freedom of Information Act. He was supposedly in the police force, retired in 2011, then retired in 2015, but then retired in 2017. Well, I asked him to show his pension.
Yeah, Daddy Dragon interviewed him in February 2020, and he said he recently retired.
He's been retired the last 11 years. I mean, Angela, how long are you going to be retired for?
Yeah,
and
I have heard that the son that recently got the Audi or BMW or whatever.
That's a BMW.
That's his cameraman. That's his cameraman.
But that's it. The car's in John Wedger's name.
Wow.
With me. And he's got 2 motorhomes. I've only just recently come across this Barbara O'Hare, and she's pretty good at what she does. You with me?
Yeah,
she's
no, I've known her for a while. She's a genuine survivor, and she's a pit bull researcher. She doesn't let go. She'll stay up night upon night.
But also, I mean, I say I'm not a YouTuber. I've only been on the YouTube because I was trying to when I first met Brian back in January. But there's people out there who are paid by Puddock. One being a lady called Wendy Wu. She goes under a YouTube channel. AK Partridge, AK White. Yeah, she worked for a magazine, as you know.
Take a break.
Take a break, and she also gets paid by the Home Office. But Puddock pays her.
And I wonder if Puddock pays Sonia Poulton. Sonia Poulton.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
I think so.
And Bill Maloney with Pie Mash Films, PIE, hence, and Pie Mash Films Limited. They're both being dissolved. And Anna Breeze, I called her out. Wouldn't have nothing to do with me. Wouldn't even take my calls.
God.
Brian Gerrish, UK column, number 1. But you've got to look at these are not, but your Puddocks, your Peter Hayter, he's not here, Portillo's, and Ricky Dearman. These are dangerous people.
Yes,
dangerous,
I just know it.
evil people.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this
I've
is
had people approach my wife in the street, Angela. I've had my house raided, you know. Yeah, I've been followed by people. Yeah, it doesn't scare me. I'm not bothered. Let them come. But all this, if you put the whole picture together, Angela, it goes back to one thing.
It's like a government operation to keep a lid on child.
It's sexual abuse. It's child sexual abuse.
Absolutely.
And it's not a coincidence that it's called the Kilwenny Lodge up in Scotland.
Now that's a Freemason lodge. Somebody told me to look into
It's the Grand Master Lodge, which Puddock is a Grand Master.
Wow.
Mm.
Somebody else told me to look into the Kilwilly Lodge, and it was somebody in America. Yeah. Wow.
They're the oldest lodge in the UK.
So you're saying Ian Puddock is the Grand Master at that lodge?
He's one of the Grand Masters. He's one of the Grand Masters, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Why would a plumber, I'm asking you a question, just being off the cuff here, a plumber from North London, Enfield, N11, be dealing with Michael Portillo, who's the ex-defence minister?
And be related to Sir Peter Heyman and be the son of,
counterintelligence,
counter-terrorism or whatever.
And you can go online and you can go on Google and put them in. Now, why would a man who's a defence minister be dealing with a lonely plumber whose wife had an affair, playing the victim?
Exactly. Wow, this is so deep. This is so dark.
You're down the rabbit hole now, Mike.
So, right. Oh, my God. I'm just going to see where I am with this.
I'm sorry to put all this on you, Angela.
No, listen, I'm in. Okay.
Yeah, they don't. The thing is, Angela, they don't scare me. They can do what they want. But I will say while I'm here, because I've fallen out with the fella, because I didn't. Is Brian Harvey's been in this for years. Yeah. And the man is no wonder he's so obsessed with this, because I can't imagine why he's got gates on his door. Who has gates on their door and locks up the place and has cameras all over? The man, public has tried to ruin this man's life, didn't he? Because he's so high up. Don't think for 1 minute he's not got connections. But I'm not scared. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Well, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. You've had special branch to your house. Your wife.
Yeah, I've had anti-corruption, jumping over my fence. Anti-corruption raid my mum's house.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is out of Stratford, East London. Yeah, I was even pulled today by Serious Crimes Unit.
And what did they say?
Well, apparently I had a gun in my car, Angela.
Oh my God! Well, I wouldn't blame you if you did. I'm starting to feel like I wish.
Well, this isn't the first. I've had them approach my wife for going to taking my children to school, Angela.
I know.
They tell your husband to back off. Tell your husband to back off.
I'm so sorry for your wife and children. I really do. I'm so sorry. I guess she knew what
this is tactic. This is their tactics.
I know.
This is how deep. This. And I'm not even going to get into SRA. We'll get into that another day.
We'll do that in the future. We will do that in the future with evidence.
We just talk, as I say.
I just want to add one more thing, and this is a bit out there for some people, but you had a very suspicious heart attack incident recently, didn't you?
Well, 10 days ago, and in December, I had a monitor fitted to my heart, and 10 days ago, I collapsed. Perfectly healthy, as you can hear. I'm perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I collapsed and blipped out. Sorry, it's my dog. I collapsed and got taken into hospital.
Yeah.
And within an hour of me getting taken into hospital, they remember it takes. I had police at my door asking my wife, "Do I beat her up?"
And she said no. She'd be more likely to give you a box around.
She said, "I'll beat him. I'll beat him." Yeah.
But
and
no, I know for a fact.
Angela, that wasn't the end of it. And then I had social services call, but I've got someone in my family very high up in social services.
Yeah.
Call my wife and say, "Does he harm you? I'm in hospital. I just had a heart attack." You couldn't make it up.
Your heart attack warning system failed. Your top
Yes, I've got a cardiac care monitor. I've got a cardiac care monitor that is attached to my phone.
And that all failed. It all went down.
It's attached to St Jude's Medical Centre.
Yeah.
My phone went down.
Yes, and this was just after the trolls had made a video about you and said something in the introduction about people could be suffering from, mental health or heart issues.
Heart attacks.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So this.
I mean, you couldn't make it, Angela. You couldn't make it up.
You could not
make it. I phoned you and told you.
So I just want to end by saying I'm asking my listeners to please pray for Brian, for myself, for all the people brave enough to speak out about this stuff.
Angela, you're a brave woman, and as I said to you a couple of days ago, I don't know. I've only been in this 6 months.
I know.
I don't know how you've coped.
What about fire? I'm hoping. I think it's the year of disclosure, and I know that there's some serious evidence being released.
Listen, they're scared, mate. Yeah. They're scared. Trust me.
The head of the snake's been cut off, but the body is still thrashing around. So people, please pray. I want to pray for people like Brian, whistleblowing at the risk of his life.
I'll give names. I don't care, Angela.
Yeah,
you know me.
I know.
I'll show you. I'll give you all the evidence. I don't care.
Your children would care. Oh, let's do that before we finish. I'm just going to do screen share, and I'm going to show a few bits and pieces that you've sent over to me. And I can assure the police or anybody else that wants to come over that the evidence will stack up so long. You better book a meeting.
But just for your viewers, this lady Angela is a brave woman. I've been in this 6 months, and it is hard work. Trust me, and I'm a strong man. I don't care.
Yeah.
So this lady needs to be given her props, because you've been there a lot longer than me, Angela. Yeah, it's draining. It can drain you.
Right, it does. It's very. I'm ready for a break, to be honest. Now I'm going to show some evidence that you've sent on to me, because it's always good to have evidence. And if any brave, I have to say as well, some police and some ex-special branch and some professionals are starting to get in touch, and they're willing to put their necks on the line. There are good coppers. There are good social workers.
They get stopped by the highest level.
They're starting to spill the beans, and I mean genuine ones. Now, can you see the screen?
All I've got is.
Can you see my screen? I'm sharing screen at the moment.
No, I can't. I'm working off a phone.
All right. Well, I'm going to read out to you what I'm showing.
Okay.
Right. So I've got stuff about Brian posted above, like it was posted about Ian Puddick that he was circumcised, and he said it's because he had an infection.
Which is inappropriate.
Yeah, right. And then it says blah blah, right. And then there's pictures of Ian Puddick showing him and his dad, or no, it's his son, but we'll skip past that because we don't want to get personal. Right, we'll go, then we've got Brian Harvey's video today, really Puddick, with some good, strong evidence in it. Then Roy Keane talks Manchester United Football Club exit and Alex Ferguson.
That might be me.
Right, okay. So then there's a message. I'm going to read this out and you can tell me who this is from. Hi, Brian. Did you think I'd forgotten you? Sean has had an unbelievably tight schedule for the past 2 weeks.
That's Amanda Payne. Payne.
And he's got 3 more to go. He's interested in speaking with you and asks that you send your phone number. You can send it to me, blah, blah. Right, and I'll give you look forward to hearing from you, Amanda. Right, so that's that. That's proving that you were going to go. Then thanks, Brian. Hope to see you on a podcast soon. Give all the puppies some love from me, Amanda. So you clearly were in negotiations to go on Sean Upwood.
Clearly.
And then, oh my goodness, I can smell puppy breath. That's a really nice letter, Brian. It must make you feel really good to know that you're doing something so worthwhile, blah, blah. Right. And then I'm assuming this is mum and dad. This is all puppy talk. So this is you and Amanda, right?
Yes.
And then, hi, Brian, just putting Mini-Me to bed, blah, blah. So that proves that you were. And then we've got Ian Puddick talking about Brian Wedger, saying he's the sleep deprivation monster. Good, I'm off to sleep. Right, okay. Brian hasn't come off YouTube. He just hasn't put anything up for 3 weeks, bless him. Brian Harvey and Puddick feud is over. Now, that was a bit strange. When Brian announced the feud is over with Ian Puddick. And
that was the day I went there. To see Brian.
Yeah, that was strange. What, do you have anything to say about that?
Yes, I went. Ian Puddick asked me for the 4 people to cause not have any drama.
Those 4 people.
I went to speak to Brian, thinking there's going to be. I'd never met him before in my life. I went there. He invited me in. Was very polite. He has got this big board of all different people, and I just basically explained to him who I was. I said, "There's my phone. I've got nothing to hide. You can check who I am. Call a couple of people, and you'll see that I'm legit." And he went, "To be honest with you, Brian, I don't want the grief. Brian Harvey just has had enough." He said, "I'll tell you what."
He was willing to back off of Ian Puddick. What? Just because you went and knocked on his door?
No, he made it. I didn't tell him or ask him to. I just said, "Is it really worth it with this guy?" Okay. Yeah, knowing nothing about him, what I knew back then. This is in January, and I've got the video of Brian Harvey, me being there, and I've got the video of the feud is over.
Actually,
yeah. And Brian just took off his own back and said, "Look, I don't really need this no more. He's had enough."
So then he said the feud is over, but then a few months later he said, "No, I'm sorry, Ian Puddick, you've crossed me."
Ian started again.
Okay.
with
Right.
this Wendy Wu, with Wendy Wu
Tell
channel.
me about the
Right.
Wendy Wu thing, because I didn't
Well,
fully
basically,
catch that.
there's a lady called she goes by the name of Wendy Wu. She put
Yeah.
up over 60 videos slagging Brian off, putting him really down. Yeah, really bad. I asked her. I got in contact with her via YouTube. She then called me, and what she said at the time was she's upset because he keeps bringing Millie Downer into it. The only reason he brought Millie Downer into it was the same week he got hacked was the same week they hacked Millie Downer's
That's right. Yeah.
voicemail.
That's right. Yeah.
And Brian's got evidence of this.
Yeah, I've
So
seen it.
she took them all down. Then, within a couple of weeks, Brian went onto a channel and done a live stream. She got jealous because I found out later she works for Puddock. Puddock pays her.
Right.
Put them all back up. Then I got the trolling. Now I've never experienced this trolling.
Okay.
I've never. Honestly, Angela, they put my wife's names, my children's names, got my address out there. I don't care, but my wife's a straight person.
Yeah,
and my
no,
children.
that's very hard on a wife and children.
I've got 3 disabled children. Yeah. And even up till last night, I'm getting trolled daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah, no,
but
my kids have suffered. It is hard on the family. It is.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Angela, they are relentless.
Yeah.
I mean, they're disgusting, sick people.
I know. It's like they're fighting for their lives. It's like there's dirt on all of them. A lot of them are kiddie fiddlers.
But this is what but people with money like Puddock will pay them. And he pays Wendy Wu. I know he does. And I found out because she worked for Take a Break. Now I know she's worked for the Home Office also. Yeah. She can find that stuff on people.
Yeah. And that's what Ian Puddock's company was. What was the name of that company he had?
Phonecast.
Phonecast. Yeah.
He's a data. That was a data collection agency.
Data collection agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Facebook.
But the thing is, he's done one podcast in his whole life, and that was on a guy who was a Royal Protection Officer called Paul Page.
Yeah.
Who he was called Paul Page. One podcast. That's all he ever done.
Yeah.
And he done a £3 million fraud. He got sacked and then went to prison for a £3 million fraud.
Oh, Paul Page.
Paul Page. Yeah.
Okay.
But then he bought out a book again, Amazon, 20%.
Yeah.
Now suddenly he's gone on Sean Atwood, which is going to be aired 19th.
Okay, I'm going to read you another message. You can tell me who this is from. It says, "Hi, Bill Maloney was severely abused in the care system from the age of 4." I believe that.
John Wedger.
Oh, this is from John Wedger. He was living on the streets at the age of 12. He'd lost 5 siblings to chronic sexual abuse. Brian Harvey's a nasty troll. That's John Wedger saying that. Bill has remortgaged his home to get the message out. Well, and was the pioneer of the anti-child abuse movement. The fact that you thought
where's he been for 7 years? Where's he been for 7 years?
Yeah, well, he's been hiding. The fact that you thought I was, quote, false flag makes me feel very sad and ill. If you can only for one moment imagine what I've risked and sacrificed to help others, there's no way you'd make such a grossly inaccurate and bizarre statement. I'm not wasting my time.
Liar.
I'm not wasting my time counter-arguing if I'm a shill or MI6, etc. It will upset and drain me. My focus needs to be on getting the witness testimonies of victims and survivors out there. I hope I haven't in any way insulted you. I'm not like that. Well, you bloody are, John, because you call me.
But Angela,
you call survivors maggots, and you call them numbnuts, and you call them.
Angela, if you're a whistleblower, give the names. I'll give you names. Like I said,
you know something weird. I still keep hoping. I'm such a mug. I still keep hoping John Wedger and Bill Maloney will sort it out. They'll come clean.
No, they're about money. All
right. Well, it's just.
Barbara O'Hare showed that. That lady, Barbara O'Hare, showed that. But I've been saying this for 6 months. Yeah, I bought his foundation.
Yeah.
I bought the foundation charity company down. You can't set up a charity and then start taking money. But he gives you, if you go and ask him to give you a donation,
he gives his bank
details. His personal bank account details.
I know. Anyway, I still, as a woman and maybe a bit of a softie, I still hope him and Maloney come clean. And I might never see that. But anyway, I'll read on what he says. This world I'm in is a very spiteful and dangerous one. I've risked and sacrificed, blah, 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 blah. I hope, right, we've seen that. You must come across as a nice guy. I have no steer on what other people say about me. Furthermore, I don't care if some disbelieve my motives and intentions based on rantings from narcissistic, drug-riddled and failed pop stars. How mean. He's a...
That was Brian Harvey.
Brian Harvey's not drug-riddled at all. He smokes a bit of weed.
He smokes cannabis. That's what he does.
He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't do any hard drugs. And that's just mean. And I've seen him do that mean thing over and over. The last thing he did was call people like Mike Tarrager maggots. Maggots. Yeah. Vomiting their dysfunction on him. That's
what he tried to do to me. Well, I'll tell you what he tried to do to me, Angela, because I believe he was in the police force. He named some really serious people, from North London and South London.
Who's this?
And he said, this is John Wedger. Oh, I know these criminals. I know these criminals. Well, it just happened to be that I know him. So I said, here's their phone numbers. Go and call them.
Okay.
So they called him. Well, I've never heard from him since.
No, I know. Right, I'll just go on with this evidence. And for some reason, my camera's gone off me, so I hope this is still recording. But anyway, look at my campaign. What's it got to do with naming names? Look at my narrative. This also shows a total lack of comprehension towards libel laws. Also, the names I know, I'm pretty sure would mean nothing to the majority of the public. So you called him on not naming names, and he just says,
yes, I did.
Whatever. Right, and then... Here's another nasty thing. Is this him again saying Brian Harvey's a dark and twisted, vile, worthless maggot? You see, there's that word again. That is so ad hominem. That is so offensive. Nothing he says or does is worth an ounce. John Wedger, you should be ashamed of yourself. He says he's a narcissist. Well, I'm sorry, that's projection. I can't engage with him or anyone who listens to him. In essence, he's a prick. That's outrageous. I'm sorry, that's ad hominem outrageous. And then you try and say, or maybe he does, most of the victims of abuse are seriously mentally ill, but they don't behave like that.
That was me.
Right, if he's mentally ill, all you claim, then why is this not represented in responses online instead of Wedger's a troll, listen to Brian? Anyway, right, and then he keeps saying he's a prick, excuse my language. He smokes skunk, blah, blah, blah.
He was going to punch him in the face.
He said, I'm a really cooperative person, but I'd smash Harvey right in the gob without blinking. Well, that's not very nice, is it, John? Right, bloody hell.
Do you know any whistleblowers for 10 years that never give one name? He's not give one name.
So you've said here about, about Popsy and you know the full details of his recall. So he beat the crap out of his partner, his girlfriend.
Yeah, I told him.
All right. And then somebody's written, Wedge is a con man and grifter without any doubt for any fool to see, but he's more than that. His ties with Bill Maloney only shoddy his reputation further as a nasty piece of work, not to mention Chris Lambriano.
Yes, that was the Jesus Army.
Human being. Plus, there's the Jesus thing he pushes.
Jesus Army. The Jesus
which
Army.
Anyone with any belief in Christ can see through. He's a liar and a fraud, but he also has an agenda with backup. His days are numbered, his card is marked, and he'll be run out of town the way Baloney Bill was. As for Sean Atwood, right, so on. I care not what trolls say. Once you right, okay, I'm confused here. Right, okay. 1 minute you're supportive, the next divisive. You know for sure that Popsy threatened a woman. The matter's been proved, question mark. Or he's saying threatened a woman. Or is the matter a mere allegation as yet unfounded? So do you know for a fact that he beat the crap out of a woman?
Well, he's been in jail for the last 5 months and can't get a release date.
And you're pretty sure it's on domestic violence?
I know, because I know that he was in Whitemore, absolutely 100%.
All right. Okay, it's a matter of personal right. There are some evil people out there seriously doing bad. Right. Okay, good. All right. Well, I pretty much covered the evidence. We've lost the photo. I'm back here now. Doesn't matter about my mug. Look, I want to thank you. That was really a marathon. And for anybody,
sorry it took so long, mate.
No, it's important. It's very important. If anybody, Brian Harvey, my new tech assistant, anybody out there wants to edit this down to get, well, to be honest, everything has been crucial information. So I'm really,
I only, you know me, Angela, I come correct. I
yeah,
come correct.
I'm really
And I won't say
grateful.
nothing I can't back up 100%.
Right.
Because
So,
the moment you mess up, people will be on you.
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this, and then
Please.
before I release it on YouTube, I'm actually going to release it as a Facebook Live. Now, what I'd like to suggest doing, I don't know if you're agreeable to this, Brian, is that I'm going to hold it back from putting it out on YouTube. I'll hold it back on list and send you a copy. What I suggest is put it out on Facebook Live tomorrow. What do you think about that idea?
I'd do it now, mate. Just get it out there.
All right, then.
Yeah,
well,
I don't care. Listen, they can't scare me, Angela.
All right,
I'm
it's going
put
to
it
take.
out there.
All right, well, give me about 40 minutes to upload it, and then I'll screen it live on Facebook.
Why wait? Why wait? I say.
And
Let
say
the
a prayer,
know.
people, that my socials don't go down, my YouTube doesn't go down, my Facebook doesn't go down. Nobody gets hurt, because ultimately what we're trying to do is protect children. We're trying to get the truth out there and protect children, because child abuse and blackmail is the glue that's holding all of this together.
Absolutely.
All right, my darling, I'll upload this and then I'll contact you. It'll be about 45 minutes. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. God bless.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.